A 135-year-old locomotive's finally been retrieved from a Southland river.
Along with another steam engine, it was tipped into the river in 1927 for flood protection, with many wondering if they'd ever be seen again. John Mackenzie watched the recovery effort at Oreti River in Lumsden.
After being buried beneath mud and water for more than 90 years, this 1885 V Class steam engine is finally back above the surface.
Just unreal to get it to there. If we get it on the grass, it'll be good. And get it into town, that's just unbelievable.
In the early 1900s, these trains ruled the southern railway lines, carrying freight and passengers. But in 1927, they were dumped into the Oreti River for flood protection. Many feared they'd be lost forever. Now, despite being submerged for 93 years, the train's actually in a remarkable condition. The wheels here were even turning when it was up in the air.
Well, there's bits and pieces around the country of them, but these are the only complete ones left in existence.
They're 135 years old. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? And even the firebox door opens. And also in the back is the wood floor is still there from where the firemen would have stood.
It's taken 6 years of planning by the Lumsden Heritage Trust to get here, and it wasn't without difficulty. Last night's attempts to drag the train out were unsuccessful. Workers having to spray out around 6 tonnes of mud and silt this morning for it to be light enough to be lifted out by crane.
A lot of nerves, and I don't think John or I got much sleep the last couple of nights.
Also removed is this coal tender, but attempts to retrieve a second locomotive failed. Still, those involved remain upbeat.
Plan is to take them straight into town and put them on display. We're going to have a bit of work, obviously. I'll be out with a shovel and a steam cleaner.
A locomotive which once transported thousands of people, now ready for a new journey after a long break. John Mackenzie, One News.
A relic of New Zealand's rail past has emerged from the mud 93 years after being dumped in a Southland river. The Lumsden Heritage Trust has been campaigning to retrieve the two 1885 V Class steam locomotives from the Oreti River for about half a decade. They're thought to be one of the last of their kind in the world. But retrieving them was no easy task, as our reporter Tess Brunton found out.
It was full steam ahead this morning, with water pumps on and a crane poised above the first locomotive, which first hit New Zealand tracks back in 1885. Recovery teams tried hoisting it, but the locomotive was too heavy to lift. Walking around the muddy riverbank, surrounded by willow trees, Site Safety Supervisor Russell Bradley explained why.
This is the main locomotive, and it was lying in the water on an angle like that, going back downhill. You can see the line across the front of the cab there where the water line was. This was all in the water, and that was the only bit exposed. So we stood it up, got it out here, put logs on it and set it to here, and now we've got to put it on its end again and clean another 5 tonne of mud off it so we can lift it out.
Workers blasted it with water and hacked at the thick weave of willow roots, covering the machine with a garden hoe. Russell Bradley says he was excited to be involved.
My great-grandfather and my grandfather are both train drivers. Trains in our family have a bit of a history. I got on board with it. There was no question of it. I just got straight on board with it. Couldn't help myself. Had to be involved.
Lumsden Heritage Trust Chair John Teta says they're lucky they could even attempt a recovery. In the wake of World War I, the value of scrap metal was low, so instead locomotives were dumped in rivers around the country to act as flood barriers.
Even the guys, when we were digging out the other day, were jumping up and down because the running boards were there. When we moved it the other day, the wheels turned, which is incredible, really. I mean, 135 years old, they've been in the river for 93 years.
John Teta says this is the last opportunity to retrieve the locomotives. The consents are about to roll over and the landowner wanted to see action. The Trust fundraised about a third of the $158,000 cost before securing the rest of the funding from other organisations. While they wanted to recover both machines, John Teta says it wasn't to be.
Over the last couple of days, it's actually gone from a massive task to a mammoth task. The suction on that thing there again, the suction being the silt holding it in. The tender itself weighs 22 tonne. He was pulling over 30 tonne on there trying to get it out. The locomotive is 32 tonne sitting on the track. You know, we believe there's probably another 10 tonne of silt in the boilers and things like that.
There was relief as the locomotive was hoisted into the air. John Titter says it was an unbelievable experience.
135-year-old locomotive, 93 years in the ground, and there it sits in a crane, eh? Unbelievable. Wow.
And emotions were running high as it was placed down onto the back of a transport truck.
Can't get any better than that, man. It could have just gone pop break. There was a story behind this that we didn't really let out, that when they lighten these things up for New Zealand Rail, they weaken the frames. And so it's been sitting in my mind that the thing is the frame could snap in half at any time. We'd lose the pony trucks or the cylinders. But there it sits so far, getting on a transporter and into town, I think we're nearly there,
Southland District Councillor Rob Scott says it was a remarkable effort.
We were made aware of it, thought it was a bit of an old wives' tale that there was a train buried down here, and we came and had a look sort of early on, and it looked like a mammoth project, and it has been a mammoth project, but when you look at these operators that we've got together here, and it's a great network of really, really talented people, and yeah, they've pulled off something that was pretty impressive.
For Russell Bradley, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Every time I drive past it, I knew it had something to do with it.